Morning, everyone, or afternoon to everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm here to talk a little bit about why we scale digital delivery across H&MV engineering using Autodesk Forma. Before we get into the digital side, I want to give you some context on who we are, what we do, because the scale and complexity of our business is exactly what drove us for this need for this program. So, as you can see, we are spread across the globe. We were a company that has grown from Ireland into the UK, into Scandinavia, mainland Europe, the Middle East, India, and now more recently the US. That global footprint creates real challenges for consistency, different regions, different regulations, and different ways of working. At H&V is we are a global high voltage infrastructure company. Substations, data centers, and renewables. With 21 plus offices, around 1,750 people working with us, and 80 projects at any given time. That scale is why digital standardization became critical for us. So our culture matters when you're asking people to change how they work. Teamwork, respect, excellence, these values are what made digital adoption possible. Without a culture that supports collaboration, no amount of technology save it. So, what do H&MV do? We cover the full project lifecycle, between feasibility all the way through to commissioning. That means our information has to flow seamlessly between phases. Any breakdown at a handover point creates rework and risk, which is why the digital delivery became so critical for us. Data centers, renewables and utility infrastructure, these three sectors, each with its own standards and pace. The clients you see here are some of the biggest names in energy and technology. So our digital delivery has to be robust and auditable. There's no room for anything to be ad hoc. ESG is a big part of who we are. We're not just building electrical infrastructure, we're doing it responsibly. Lean design, carbon reduction, biodiversity initiatives, and a genuine commitment to diverse and inclusive workplaces. The digital delivery program actually supports our ESG goals directly, meaning better coordination means less waste, fewer site revisits, and more efficient use of our resources. It all connects. At H&MV, safety is a non-negotiable. Come back to this when I cover our digitalized RAMs and the EHRA workflows later. But the key point is the safety culture is foundation and the digital tools to reinforce it. So, who are H&MV? H&MV now have grown to be a large group. A recent acquisition is Cook Power Services in the US, based out of Texas, and Blake Goff Consulting in London, and Grid Lights as well, for the grid connections. Skalning Engineering is actually a company that I have come from, which was part of the takeover acquisition a few years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. Running digital transformation across this mix of standards means standards for the work that everyone does has to be accommodated for all these different markets. So, we've done the company bit. Let's get on to the core of the presentation. How we built and scaled our digital delivery capability. I'll start with a quick introduction about myself and explain why digital transformation became essential for us. From there, I'll walk you through our three-pillar framework: technology, process, and people, which most of you will know as the pillars of BIM, and then dive into the specifics. How we standardize our accommodative environment, automated design governance, structured design packages and transmittals, digitalize our safety workflows, and rolled out mobile field tools. It's a lot of ground, but each piece builds on the last. So a little bit about me. I spent my career kind of working across BIM, digital engineering, and project delivery. I started with hands-on technical roles, and over time kind of moved into leading digital transformation programs. That journey from being on the tools as a carpenter to the strategy is actually what shaped my approach. I know what it's like to be the person on the ground. That experience is an important context for everything I'm about to share. The approach we've taken at H&MV is grounded in digital reality, not theory. Every decision we made came from understanding what actually works when you're managing complex projects across multiple regions. Before we get into what we built, I want to set the scene why we needed to change. So hands up if this sounds familiar. You need a drawing. You need to find, and you need a drawing, and you find three versions of that drawing in three different places. Nobody knows which one is the current one. That was us. Every team had their own way of doing things. Different folders, different naming, the review process. Fine when they're small, but across 21 offices, 80 large scale projects falls apart really, really fast. So industry research shows rework eats up about 30% of construction costs. We were feeling that firsthand. Wrong divisions were issued, drawings reviewed against outdated information, and then hours lost chasing files. That's what drove us to this program. Not technology for its own sake, but fixing real problems that were costing us time, money, people's patience. So this slide, it captures our whole philosophy. Three pillars of technology, process, and people. You can't skip any of them. I've seen organizations throw money at a platform and wonder why nobody uses it 6 months later. That's technology without process and people. I've also seen teams write beautiful process documents, then sit there and draw because nobody champions it. Forma gives us that connected environment, designed through operations. ISO 19650 gives us the rules, how we structure, exchange, and verify information. And our digital champions make it real at a team level. Coaching colleagues, solving problems, keeping momentum when the initial excitement wears off. From research, we know this backs us up. The firms that succeed invest equally in all three. Focus on tools alone are almost certain to fail scale. So the CDE is the foundation. And I'll probably, even as I discuss this, I might call Autodesk Forma the ACC. And I know a lot of people are still in that. They'll call it the ACC a lot. So if you do hear me say it, I apologize. It's Autodesk Forma from now on. The CDE is the foundation, one place for every drawn model and document, structured using ISO's 4 containers. Before this, people were emailing drawings, creating their own folder structures. Naming conventions were a big win. Anyone in a project in any country find what they need in seconds. Someone said to me before, it's like going to what we call the messy drawer in Ireland, broke drawer to a filing cabinet. It's just quickly, easy management. So, how do we do that? There's standardization. It only works if it's easy to follow. Every new project that we have launches from the standard template. The right folders, the right permissions, and the workflows are pre-configured. The OCR title block extraction tool replaces manual data entry. So it's faster, it's more accurate, and nobody has to do that job anymore. We've introduced automated design reviews, route the documents, track comments, and enforce approval gates. But these small automations can be compounded across hundreds of projects. We shifted from issuing individual drawings to design packages, grouping deliverance by milestones, so reviewers can get a complete, coherent set The result is up to 30 times, 30% faster reviews with fewer items and revisions. If there's one change I'd recommend to anyone starting this journey, it's this one. It's a quick win and has a big impact. Transmittals have now replaced the email-based document exchange that we used to do. It's structured with a timestamp transfer. Each exchange is now traceable. Who sent what, to whom, and when. It's immutable record. Project managers say this single change gives them more confidence in the contractual position than anything else we did. When an actual dispute arises, the audit trail is worth its weight in gold. We've introduced the MIDP as a master schedule for information. And that's across the company. Who's producing what, when, and to what standard. We learned this importance the hard way when during an ISO audit we were asked for a TIDP and it hadn't been retained. So now every project has a living MIDP, give real-time visibility into what's on track, what's at risk, and are overdue. The key learning is it's not something you create at the start to forget. It has to be well maintained, and it's incredibly powerful for early warnings. So, as I said earlier, safety is everything at H&MV. It's the heart of what we do. It's the one area where we can't afford shortcuts. We digitize our RAMS process and our EHRAs. So our EHRAs are extra high-risk activities. And we've done that into a standard workflow using the submittal tool to identify hazard identification, risk evaluation, control measures, to review and approve those out. Every step captured digitally with timestamps and signatures. Before this, we just had paper forms. The paper forms have a way of going missing. Being incomplete or sitting, signed, all signed in somebody's desk. Not acceptable when you're talking about safety. One of our safety managers put it to me perfectly. Digital workflow doesn't let them skip a step. And that's exactly that's the point. It's not a bureaucracy. It's about making sure that the right checks happen every time and on every job. But the audit trail alone has been transformative for our safety governance. We can demonstrate compliance at any point, on any project, instantly. So everything I talked about so far has been mostly based on the CDEs, registers, design reviews. The real test is if it actually works on site. So we've rolled out digital forms and the mobile tools to the field teams so they can complete inspections, capture photos, record data on their phones or tablets. So there's no more paper forms going back to the office, scanned and uploaded. The ITP templates that we have for our projects are standardized across the projects, whether you're on a substation in Ireland or you're on a data center in Germany. Quality checks are the same. The game changer is the real-time visibility. The moment the form is complete on site, the project manager sees it. No waiting for the end of the week reports, no chasing people for updates. A site format told me he used to spend an hour a day on paperwork. Now it takes him 10 minutes. That's the kind of improvement that wins people over. I've been talking a bit about these tools and the workflows in an abstract context. So now let me show you what they actually look like in practice. This is a brief platform walkthrough. See the transmittal workflow, Forma exchange for full traceability alongside design reviews, interface, and mobile digital forms that field teams use on site. The goal here is to show you that these aren't abstract concepts. They live next to tools that our teams use every day. So here you can see the workflows in action. On the right is the transmittal interface. This is where the formal document changes happen. Structured, time-stamped, fully traceable. This is the design review of digital forms on site. The field teams complete these on their devices. The data syncs straight to the CDE. No paper, no delays, no chase. The key thing I want to take away from this is how we connected everything. CDE, how it connects the CDE, transmittance, forms, they all feed into the same ecosystem. That's why that's what makes this single source of truth actually in practice. So that covers the processes and tools. Now I want to talk about what actually makes all this work, the people. This section is about how we scale adoption across the organization. I introduced our Digital Champions Network, a cross-functional team embedded across different teams from HSE, commercial, planning, engineering, and ops, who drive adoption from within. Then I'll share a bit about specific wins from each group as delivered, our upskill and automation strategy in partnership with NTI that accelerated the whole program. So, the Digital Champions Network. This is probably the part that I'm most proud of. We're embedding the champions across every function. It's not just IT people. It's people that are experts in their own departments who know how to work inside and out and speak the language of their own teams. That matters because when you're a digital champion who's been on site or managed a program or understands the daily frustration, they have huge credibility. When they say try it this way, people listen. So local ownership is critical. It set global standards, but champions adapt to the local needs. A project in Scandinavia has different requirements to one in the Middle East. The champion makes the framework work in their context. So the feedback loop is where the magic happens. Champions surface the issues we'd never see from the head office. We share the best practices across teams and drive improvement from the ground up. So with that, industry is showing us a 25% increase in digital tools through return on investment as worked with the Champions framework. So we're seeing it play out in our own numbers. This slide follows kind of wins from the Digital Champions meetings with each group, and they're all tied back to the core of creating an actual new Forma template for the company. It has the right roles, the right permissions, the right folder structure, and naming standard from the start. HSE, commercial, dock control, planning, engineering are all here as part of this. These groups have adopted the template. They've locked in their folder structures and actually using the naming standard. Ops and IT are still in progress, but made strong headway on it. The key takeaway is that the champions drove this within their own teams. They didn't wait for IT to impose it. The ownership is what made the difference between deployment and genuine adoption. Training is easy to get wrong. Roll out the tool, run a 2-hour workshop and hope for the best. We've all been there. We tailor training to the role and experience level. New to Forma, you'll get the navigation basics. Power user or champion, we'll go deeper into automation, custom workflows and analytics. The automation piece is where it gets exciting. We're deploying AI agents to classify your documents, summarize batch reports, and generate status updates. Think about how much time your team spends on reporting. Now imagine that automated. Forma's Insight Builder is a very good tool. Teams have started to build their own dashboards without waiting for an IT expert. One engineer built a dashboard tracking design deliverables across three projects in one afternoon, and that replaced a weekly manual report that took hours. That stat is something I always come back to. Identifying kind of automation opportunities that can save up to 25% time on a routine task. That's not just a small number. Through this process of digital delivery, I just want to kind of thank the lads in NTI, specifically David Pardon and Kieran McLaughlin, who have been bringing us about this program with us. NTI didn't just sell us the software. They sat down with us. They ran discovery workshops with us. They helped us kind of figure out where we were and where we needed to get to. So they worked and shaped the roadmap with us. One of those roadmaps was to introduce work plans as part of the schedule tool and use that as the process with our ITP rollout. So it gave us kind of clear milestones, the responsibilities, the structure that keep us on track. Things got complicated. They supported us with the digital forms rollout. This was a paper-based approach initially before we introduced forms as a way of capturing our project requirements for inspection and test plans. Their training, their experience was something that brought the difference to us. And as an Autodesk Platinum partner, we brought deep technical knowledge. And honestly, it's a relationship that mattered most with the guys. Partners understood us, understood our business, and invested in our success. That's what made it work. So we covered the what and the how. Now I want to get into the results, the lessons, and what we're going to do next, and then start with measured outcomes. I walked through a bit of return on investment and dock control and design engineering. Sorry, now. And a kind of honest look at lessons learned and what we changed and challenges we've had, and then where we're planning on going with all this Forma after security. So I know what you're thinking. It does sound great. Where's the proof? It's a fair question. So we've measured 20-30% efficiency across our dock control through design reviews and coordination. So that's not aspiration, it's measured. Design package reviews have been completed up to 30% faster. Fewer revision loops, and there's better first-rate quality. That means less delays, fewer late nights before submission deadlines. Clients has materially improved, so we're order ready at any point for any project. That used to be a bit of a scramble. Now it's just how we work. The industry benchmarks support these figures. BIM adoption typically cuts rework by 10 to 20% and cost by 9 to 12%. We're at the upper end of this because we're committed to consistent adoption, not just pilot projects. The takeaway is digital transformation delivers real returns, but only when the adoption is consistent. Partial adoption gets partial results. So the ROI in construction technology is a journey. It's not a single number. Let me break it down where we see the value. Dock control is the clearest of it. Every hour saved in manual tracking, version checking, tracing approvals is an hour your team gets back for real work. Multiply that across our portfolio and the numbers add up fast. Design engineering, return on investment comes from faster reviews, fewer clashes, less rework. So when a 2-week review drops to 10 days with better quality, that's real money. But here's the key point. Value skills with adoption. If your team uses standardized workflows, but the team they hand it off to doesn't, you lose most of the benefit. It's like having half a brick. The more teams that adopt, the greater the compound benefit. That's why the Champions Network for us is so critical. It's the mechanism that drives adoption across the organization. It's not just in pockets. So, 3 honest lessons. First, you need executive sponsorship. That comes from the top down. It isn't an optional element. Second is, you need to invest in change management for technology. We made a mistake leading with the tool early on, and it didn't work. Third is the phase rollout. Start with your pilots, learn from them, fix them, and then scale. Research confirms that the best practice is that unlocks digital value centers on organizational alignment, not technology selection. People are the hardest part of this journey. So for us, the adoption, that's been the biggest headache. The mandates didn't work, but showing the benefit was actually showing the people. Get them involved early, and then the legacy processes that were deeply entrenched within the company. We had to try use pilots to show the hard evidence of how things could actually shift the mindset of the skeptics, and then try work the global standards right for us, for consistency, for respect. The different regions have different needs. So that's how we've driven that. So what's left? It's time for us to kind of look ahead. As we know, Autodesk is rebranded ACC to Forma. But with that change, it's not just the name. It's getting more into the AI native and the cloud platform to help develop across the built environment lifecycle. So with us, it means our workflows, our templates, and our governance structures can all carry forward into a more connected, more intelligent environment. We're not just starting over, we're building already on what we've already done. So the AI capabilities are particularly exciting. Predictive analytics flagging before something becomes a problem. Automated compliance checks that run in the background, and intelligent recommendations based off our project data. We are positioned in H&MV to be ready for that next wave. The foundation we built, the CDE, the champions, and the standardized processes, that's what makes us ready to take advantage of these capabilities as they come online. So where we're heading is going from level 4 to level 5 digital security. Sounds a bit like a jargon, but just let me actually explain what it means. There's a point where your data flows end to end without a manual intervention. So your controls are automated and your delivery becomes more predictive rather than reactive. That research is really compelling. Organizations operating at that level report up maybe 40% higher productivity and 25% lower operational costs. So those transformative numbers not only give us incremental improvements, our digital champions are the actual engine that will get us there. The ones that are driving the continuous improvement cycle. So they're always finding better ways to use the tool. They're always bringing issues to us. They're always sharing what works. You can't automate that kind of evolution. It takes people who actually genuinely care about getting better every day. So it isn't a destination with a finish line, it's a mindset. So just about there, Colin. So the last slide here. So it's just kind of what I want you to try to take away from today is first to be people, process, technology in that order. Keep saying it because it's the single most important lesson. The tech enables it, but the people and process are the people who make it sticky. The second part is the standardization works. It's not in theory, it's in practice. We've measured our efficiency gains with faster reviews, stronger compliance. And but only because we committed to consistent adoption across the organization. We haven't done it halfway because we don't get halfway results. And third, find a good partner. NTI and Autodesk have both helped accelerate what we have done, which would have taken us years to do on our own. So the challenge now for us is to keep that momentum going. Because the digital transformation isn't just a project, an end date. It's how we work. Thanks for listening today, and I'd love to hear your questions.
Well, thank you, Paul, for this very honest story as well. And you even talked about David Purden. Well, he will be presenting as well this afternoon. So maybe Ethan, he can share his knowledge. But I think it's great. It's a very honest story about the fixing before you go scaling. And something you learned in the job about your MDIPs, your audit trail, your digital workflows. All great to hear. But I think what inspired me is the digital champions you had bringing me back to where I started today as well, with the transformation you need to be as a company, or you need to take as a company. Yep. Can you tell me how you came up with this idea and how you structured your digital champions network?
Yeah, it's something that I carry through from my time in Skalning engineering. So we were a small size company where we embraced the ACC or Forma at that point. I call it small. We got up to 150 people before H&MV took us over. But it allowed us at that scale to kind of look at every tool and process within the Forma environment. So kind of looking at each tool, I got the opportunity then to work with different departments. So I had a point of contact in each. And then what I needed to do at that time in that company was develop the likes of a folder structure, develop the permissions that should go with these folder structures and the naming convention then across the board then as well. So it was using that mindset when I came into H&MV to go, we need these guys to be the drivers, because when I came into H&MV, I would say it was maybe 5 or 10% of Forma was actually being used. So it was a case of going, look, I need people that have embraced this software, this platform, the tools that are within that environment to be the global leaders and for me.
Yeah, and I think you're more than happy that you are not responsible for the template anymore, that you put that in the hands of the champions.
That's it. But, and look, in fairness, it's something I'm kind of building off a kind of historical template at the moment. So I'm seeing issues that would have coming up. Well, we're probably fit for purpose with a smaller company. So as we scale now, the likes of even a simple thing as roles.
Yep.
Like we can see if somebody has a certain role and that role has been applied to them for a form. So you're giving them, I need those guys to have permissions to edit or review. And if they're tied into a single role, then I think there's 883 people out of the box into our projects.
Yep.
Those guys, if they have that role applied to them, they'll get a notification. So with this new template, I've introduced new roles that will just be an add-on or a bolt-on. And that's using the Champions Network to kind of test this. We go, if you had this as a bolt-on role, would this kind of fix and tailor kind of what you need? So it's about kind of learning as we grow and then having the scale then to actually implement it.
Yeah, awesome. So even questions pop up in your session, but they are still handled in the background. Was a question about SharePoint connecting to the AC. That definitely helps for you. You already talked about a little bit what you're gonna do, but what's your vision? What's your next step now into the company? I think you already have said it very well. You definitely implemented the right way, scale it whenever it was possible. But now for you, what's your next step?
Yeah, it's all good getting this, get everybody working within the environment. But now my next step is actually how we take out the metrics. How do we take the data out of it? So we're using, I think someone mentioned it on your last, start using the APIs, going into the ACC or into Forma and pulling the data back out. What we're planning to do is pull it into our own company's data lake. So we can actually use our own AI agents then to interrogate the data that's actually been pulled out and produce it in dashboards then as well.
Awesome. And a little bit AI as well?
All AI. One of my first, we're actually rolling out Copilot as a company solution for AI. But through that, I've got the opportunity to start building my own agents. And one of those agents was a ACC help assist for my teams. So that was a case of, because people would ring me and say, "Hey, Paul, how do you do this? How do you do that?" And then I say, "Talk to the agent."
Awesome to hear. So maybe there's a copy of Paul, but then it's a digital agent. So awesome.
But it was good. It was good because I know Autodesk has introduced the AI assistant now, and they put in help as part of that. But with my own agent, I can actually put in our own company's documentation. So our quality documentation, our ISOs, we can plug in and let it pull from that data out.
Great. Well, Paul, I want to thank you very much for this inspiring story. I think, like I said, you shared a lot of knowledge. You shared your experience, how to implement, what not to do. And so thank you very much. And let's go to the next.
Thank you very much.
We have a short break now, a little bit ahead of schedule, a few minutes extra before we go into the round table. So also think about these questions, get your coffee, take your bio break and think about the question, what is your next step? What's accountable for your team? And how do you can benefit from this? So I'll see you back in 40 minutes before we start to the round table, where we have a very nice chat with Schouten Techniek and Mercury Engineering about their journey. Thank you.